Going live like right now? Are we live? I think we are. Hey everyone, this is Andy Hall, and over there is my buddy Sam Slade. How you doing today, Sam?
How are you, Andrew? It's good to see you, sir. It's good to see you. You don't look like there's a plague going on. You look very good. You look very healthy.
Why, thank you, sir. I try to stay away from people under normal circumstances and the sun. So, I think this has paid off for me, Sam, because I have a glowing alabaster-like complexion, which is healthy, right? It's healthy. No skin carcinomas or trichosoma or anything. I'm just like saying words right now, Sam. So I'm doing well.
I'll take your word for it.
And you too, sir. You are looking fine this morning.
Thank you. Other than this one mole that's shaped like Massachusetts on my left shoulder, I'm doing all right this summer.
Well, that's good. At least it's Massachusetts, so you don't have to worry about it.
I know. It reminds me of you every time I think about how disfigured and terrified I am to go to a hospital.
Right. Well, Austin is supposed to be. Is Austin? The last time that we talked, you were saying that Austin was not good.
Austin's still not good. Mayor Adler put out. I'll tell you, I've got to give him credit. I don't know who's working for him these days. Believe it or not, I've taken a step back from city politics these days. Obviously, I say that with a shit-eating grin because nobody really has spent the time to really step up as a leader in Austin, Texas until Steve Adler this summer based on necessity and survival. But I have to give his office credit. Every day on Facebook, they are putting out long debriefs at the end of the day, updating you with numbers, making sure that you go to bed as terrified as you were when you woke up that same morning. But right now, Andy, if you look at the COVID chart from June to July, it just goes straight up. So that's where we're at.
Well, you don't really see that kind of chart too often, Sam, except in maybe schoolrooms where they say, well, this is what happens in this kind of theoretical situation. It doesn't really happen in real life, however.
Right. Yeah. Until we elect Donald Trump, but we know how that story ends. Not well.
Not well.
I had somebody make a point to me. Andy, I don't know if you've heard. I don't mean to derail us here, but there's a libertarian candidate that's gotten in the race for the presidency of the United States. I believe her name is Jo Jorgensen. And I would like to retract something I put out on social media earlier this week. I was, saying if you're fucking dumb enough to vote third party this year with our two decisions, why don't you just go cough in someone's mouth or let someone cough in your mouth or something along those lines. It wasn't very polite, Andrew, and I would like to apologize publicly at this point and say that if you, in fact, are dumb enough to vote third party, by all means, don't let us stand in your way here at Friday Mornings with Andy and Sam.
Well, especially in swing states, which Texas, and I want to communicate this again to our loyal viewers, Texas, Georgia, these are actual swing states.
Arizona?
Right now. Arizona, definite swing states. So don't lull yourself into thinking that you're in a quote unquote pure red state. It's only a few percentage points away from swinging blue.
I have to think, Andy, and you can disagree if I'm just completely being delusional, which I've known to be as a Longhorn fan, is this map not going to look a lot different come December of this year? I like to hope, but again, am I just blowing smoke up our own asses here? I mean, this was the Donald Trump popular vote map for folks who don't recognize it or have it plastered on every wall of their house like I do.
It will look different. I'm hoping, especially in the Rust Belt, especially in places like Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota.
All this red.
That is just not going to stand. That's very soft support that he had in 2016. And with the economic downturn, coronavirus, cats and dogs sleeping together.
Mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria. I don't think those states will stay red.
I don't either. I think if you really want to make an impact this year, and if you're one of those people who still contribute to political campaigns in a big, bad way, send your money to one of the new swing states, please. If you like new Marvel movies, these new swing states are going to be so much more exciting, I promise. Texas, Georgia, Arizona, like Andy said, I think Doug Jones in Alabama, to some extent, could really make an impact there and help us just kind of pad our lead as far as popular national vote. So, send a few bucks to these candidates in these states. We need a House, we need a Senate, and we need a president who know the difference between medicine and an Alex Jones rant.
And I want to point out, too, that even if your state is 159 million% going to go red, there are still down ballot, people you can vote for. Mm-hmm. Yeah, important races in your town. You could be voting blue for your, city council, for your state representative, for your state senator. And even if your state doesn't go blue for the presidency, you can still make a significant change in your locality.
You definitely can. Those are important races. We had some very progressive people get elected here in Austin last week in our primaries. We're very excited about people who are going to bring real criminal justice reform to Travis County and to Austin, especially if you've kept up with that outcry story that Tara and I have been talking about on Weirdos at Home. We need some of that down here. And, I think the time of the permed out old blonde lady serving as DA just isn't going to fly around here anymore. Not anything against that, but you know what I mean, as dog whistle as that may sound.
I understand. So back me up on, or just tell me about the story about the situation there.
Oh, that outcry story?
Yeah.
Okay, so Greg Kelly was a stud high school football player here in Leander, Texas, which is just north of Austin, just outside of Travis County in Williamson County. Now, when you grow up down here, you are warned by anyone in every way, shape, or form, anyone don't, as a teenager, go and fuck around in Williamson County. You won't make it out. If you have brown skin, it doesn't get easier to get out if you get in trouble there. So Greg Kelly he's growing up in a rough situation. His mom is very ill. His dad's not in the picture. So he's living at a home that is having a at-home daycare. Now, that is another issue, and I think there's plenty of more legislation that can come down the pike as far as people just popping up at-home daycares with no kind of certification or any kind of inspections going on or anything. You're just like, it's a daycare, drop your kid off. That's a whole other weird deal. So he's staying at this house, and he gets accused of child molestation. With the outcry interview is what it's called. That's the name of the documentary series. So it turns out Wilco really wants to get some big sexy headlines, get the big national story about how they busted the child molester, stud football player. And they basically take another 4-year-old, a second kid, into an interrogation room and basically sit him down until he decides, coerced into saying that Greg Kelly had molested him too. So then once you have two accusations, it's pretty much open and shut case. Yeah. Well, Greg did about 6 years in prison. His state prison, real prison here in the state of Texas. And I don't know how well folks are aware, but they don't treat people who are convicted of child molestation very well in state prison, at least not here in our home state of Texas. Anyways, come to find out, his attorney had completely botched it. They hire a stud attorney from Austin named Keith Hampton, who comes into the picture, takes a look at everything, and says, this cannot be more botched. Greg Kelly, I'm getting there. Why don't you save it for your own show, lady? Tara Brown, ladies and gentlemen, still riding her high from last night's Weirdos at Home. So Keith Hampton comes into the picture and says Greg wasn't even living at the house. Based on cell phone records, we can prove that he wasn't even anywhere near the house when the altercation or the accused altercation took place. And then there just so happens, Andy, it's like a Christopher Nolan movie. And then it turns out that there's a kid also living at the same daycare who also plays on the football team, who's not the star, who is not a stand-up class act, young man in his community, helping out, at the blood drive and everything else. Sure. Why did my mom go to blood drive? I guess that's how weird shit is these days. So anyways, Andy, there's another kid in school on the football team hanging out at that same house who looks just like Greg. And he has a history of sexual offenses and weird weird behavior regarding children and sex. It turns out that Greg Kelly's attorney, spoilers for those of you who haven't watched the whole documentary, but I've spent the last week studying it like Russ Cole over here, so I'm getting it off my chest. So at the end, it come to find out, Andy, that the first attorney who botched Greg Kelly's case had actually represented the other kids' two older brothers who were both charged with, public lewdness with a minor? Public lewdness with a minor, public sexual misconduct with a minor. So the attorney who botched Greg Kelly's case, who didn't bring in the other suspect who looked just like Greg Kelly, his name was Jonathan McCarty. The attorney who did not bring Jonathan McCarty into the mix may or may not have done so because she was paid very, very nicely by the McCarty family not too many years ago when the older brothers were in trouble for similar sexual behavior offenses.
That's incredible. In time. Very well done, sir. Very well done. So basically, this guy gets put away in jail and has his life, for all intents and purposes, ruined.
Yeah, he had already signed his big signing day thing with he was going to go be kind of the new face of the University of Texas at San Antonio.
Yeah,
they were trying to rebuild their program, so they were. Yeah, I mean, it's
the idea about having preschoolers give testimony is insane. There was, during the Satanic Panic during the 80s up here in Massachusetts, there was a daycare where prosecutors were able to get a bunch of kids, a bunch of very young children, to basically say crazy stuff about sexual abuse at a daycare center. And it's the science is there. The children under a certain age will just tell you anything, and they will just confabulate. They'll just make up stuff. And yeah, totally unreliable testimony.
Well, I mean, Andy, we were making you got to make light of situations like this, especially with the pandemic. And also, you and I are comedians. We're going to make jokes about anything to begin with. But we were talking about, when I was the same age as these kids, I was walking around telling people my name was Sam Slade, Blaine Slade. That's not my name. That's my middle name, but that's not my name. And if that didn't fly and that got shot down, I would tell people my name was Peter Hooper. And Peter Hooper is Peter Venkman from Ghostbusters crossed with Mr. Hooper, who ran the grocery store on Sesame Street. So when the girl comes up, the Karen, if you will, who is the victim's advocate goofball in the Outcry documentary series, all she keeps saying, Andy, and this is going to make you bash your head into your desk, is
I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready for this.
Here, get full stance. So we just have to believe all of the children, no matter what they say.
Oh, that's horrible. That's
Thank you in the live chat. Convicted and sentenced to 25 years without parole was the plea bargain he signed. Yep.
That's you have to believe the children. If there must be a logical fallacy named after that. So some kind of Latin term. I can't come up with one right now either, but that's just crazy. And like I said, similar situation happened up here in Massachusetts back in the 80s during the Satanic Panic. And I guess people just, could it be, Sam, that the lesson here is that people don't learn lessons?
Yeah, we don't learn in this country. And the fact that we're now where we were in March down here in Austin, a city that's regarded as being so smart and so educated. And hey, look at all the tech companies we have going on, but we can't figure out not to cough at each other's mask, or that wearing a mask will spread an airborne air spread virus. But hey, one thing though, Andy, that there's a good ending to the Greg Kelly story. Last week, he got offered. He's out now. And I want to make sure that people at home watching this morning know that we're not by any means standing up for anything other than due process, the rule of law, and good law enforcement and good detective work, good real police work. But the happy ending, Andy, is he, in fact, got himself last week a walk-on tryout with the University of Texas after 7 years sitting in prison.
Wow. So how old is he now then? He's
got it. Terry says he's got to be like 23, 24-ish.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Or maybe older, maybe 25, because he was in prison for 6 years. Okay, so he's mid-20s somewhere, but I mean, you can't imagine that's got to be easy coming back and jumping in with some guys who have not missed a day of practice their entire life.
Oh yeah,
and this guy's been doing yard push-ups, right?
This is true. This is true. Yard push-ups is not the same thing as doing laps,
right? Or having a trainer at your disposal, or a nutritionist, or what have you. I'm sorry, we got way down in the rabbit hole. I think the point is Greg Kelly may or may not be governor of Texas someday. So here we go.
Very good. Well, to make things a little bit lighter, I've been able to figure out a few things here on StreamYard, and we have new backgrounds. Yes, backgrounds are available. Here you have the basic garden variety background. And Sam, I wanted to see which background is fitting for today. Okay. I'm not absolutely sure. So we're going to go with the first choice here.
Oh, I like that. People in
the chat can suggest, yes, this is space. You may be acquainted with space. It's all around us. You can see it at nighttime, and actually you might be able, it's actually still there during the day. The sun just blocks it out.
Really? I haven't heard that before. I was not aware that it's there all the time.
It's there all the time.
Really? And that's fascinating.
It is fascinating. Unlike in the Old Testament, where people just thought it was a solid piece of metal, or it's called the firmament, it isn't. This is also might be new to some viewers.
Yeah, to any of my relatives watching, there is something beyond the edges of the flat Earth that we live on. I don't know if you guys knew that, but yes, that is true.
Yes.
Hey, Andy, we're not going to get in trouble with Neil deGrasse Tyson on this. This isn't going to be one of those things where we get a tweet from him in a few months, which we should be so lucky, I may add, but get a tweet from him where he says, hey, guys, the constellations are all wrong. Have you seen when he does that on social media?
He does do that. Well, the good thing about about this particular picture is that the center focus is the galaxy Andromeda, which you are right now obfuscating. So no one really knows where, because space, you may not be aware of this, Sam. Space is big.
Yeah, in fact, I've heard rumors it goes on forever.
It may be bigger than Texas. I'm not sure.
I heard I know this is unrelated, and we're doing bits and stuff, but I heard something the other day that now, not that we have any money for NASA left, Andy, but there are people at NASA who believe that black holes may actually be the way to interstellar travel, to which I thought we already knew this based on what McConaughey taught me in Interstellar. But it seems to be now kind of open science, and it just made me stop and pause, man, that the fact that in the last year, I'm pretty sure the White House has acknowledged aliens or UFOs to some extent, and now NASA's saying we can travel through black holes and wormholes. And I'm going, man, can you imagine if we had money laying around instead of trying to stop this plague that makes you just cough to death?
It would be remarkable if the country actually used its trillions of dollars that apparently could just print on demand. It can print on
like
demand.
Bob Iger at Disney. We can just print money. I don't think people realize that.
Right, because basically the U.S., we have the world's reserve currency, and the rest of the world is terrified at the idea that the country goes under. And so we can just keep printing money. We have the world, like in some kind of weird suicide pact.
Isn't this
financially speaking?
I feel like I wake up and I don't know if this summer has had the same effect on you. And I know it kind of has been fluctuating throughout the summer, the different levels of where everybody's own mental health is at during this crisis. But boy, hasn't it really seemed like more so than either one of our in the big picture short runs here on this marble. Everything is kind of just holding together by a thread, is it not? I mean, wow.
If you listen really quietly, you can hear the system creaking under its own weight. That's exactly it. That's the rubber bands, the glue, the Scotch tape of the entire infrastructure of our political socialist system.
And we're just
feeling the weight.
Just lick it. It will. Here, if you just got to stick it back and you got to just stick it. It'll
You
stick.
know
It's
what we
fine.
need? We just need another tax cut, and another tax cut's going to fix coronavirus. It's going to fix Iraq. It's going to fix everything. Just more tax cuts.
Just get that tax cut duct tape out. That'll do it. Just wrap that around the rich people. That'll help.
Oh yeah. Okay. So there are other backgrounds.
Okay, enough about space.
Enough about space. We have something a little bit more dramatic.
Whoa.
Lightning.
That's kind of the mood, isn't it? That's kind of where we're at.
I like this Thor's hammer kind of wrathy, lightning vibe going on here. Very energetic.
By the power of dumbass.
Right. Well, if nothing else that typifies our show, I think it could be that saying, by the power of dumbass. That's what powers the show, possibly.
Yeah, I'm feeling a lot like dumbass He-Man down here myself these days. So I think it's very, very on the money.
I hear there's going to be a reboot of the He-Man series.
There is. That's our favorite old vegan Kevin Smith and his writing partner Mark Bernardin are bringing it back, and I think they've actually casted a nice little group of voice actors bringing it back, and it'll be animated, and apparently it's supposed to look like those old Filmation cartoons from the 80s that so many people grew up on. But without Cringer turning into Battle Cat, I don't know if it's worth it. So
right. I'm looking forward to it. I was never a huge He-Man fan back in the day, but I am looking forward to Mr. Smith's vision, his vision
Sure.
of He-Man. And of course, with He-Man, can She-Ra really be that far behind?
I feel like Andy. I feel like She-Ra might have already came back to Netflix. I feel like they might have got a jump on that through the Me Too stuff, and they were like, "Hurry up and get She-Ra done." I could be wrong, but I think that they had that come out around the time of Sabrina, the reboot that got canceled. But they've now, I think they're now banking on a whole bunch of new animation shows because you can do that from home if you have your computer set up and you have whatever tech that it takes. I don't think kids for a second these days think that it's, Imagineers sitting drawing anything the way it was when we were kids. I don't know. So I guess we're all just going to be watching cartoons here for the near future.
Okay. There are worse ways to spend the apocalypse than retro cartoons. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Sure. All right. So here's the last choice. So just to review our first two choices, we have space. Mm-hmm. We have lightning. And the third choice, a cavalcade of cats.
Hang on, let me see here.
And I was actually thinking of Sam and his cat. I saw on your Instagram profile, on your Instagram channel, that your cat had drawn blood from you the other day.
Yeah, sometimes we play a little too hard, me and the milkster here. She's obviously a broadcasting natural. She's no, not today. You're gonna.
Uh-oh.
There you go. Okay.
That's the sound she makes before she attacks.
There you go. Oh, it gets way worse than that. It's so funny. Tara and I are here. We've been quarantined all summer, and then we've got. What do you think Lando weighs? 70 pounds. Lando's about 70 pounds. Beautiful Scooby-Doo. He looks like Scooby-Doo's like tough country cousin that would come to town.
Wow.
I calling him Scooby-Doo is not giving him his, the credit he deserves when he comes out serious and kind of intimidating he looks. But you get that guy around this little 3-pound cat. Well, let's be honest. She's put a few on in quarantine. We all have. Right. 6-pound cat. And man, he turns into just the biggest pussy in the world. And I got to tell you, it bums me out sometimes because me and Tara are like, would you just get her already and stand up for us? Protect us from this monster. And she just sits right here on her little shelf. She's got a little room over here. I don't know if anybody can see, but she's got little bed that it's new. Tara loves. And then Andy, I didn't know we were going to do a whole bunch of cat stuff, but we go ahead and take the tour here. This is Andy. This is her stick tour. Her stick toy. She loves this thing. See, you kind of do one of those numbers. Tara does that. I just let her chew my hand up. And then over here, I don't know if anybody can see this. This is a little cat blacklight poster that we put up for her in her room. So she's got the whole vibe going on.
She's got a pretty sweet space.
She does. She does. We're about to start making her pay some fucking rent around here.
As well, she should. So what background are we going to use for the rest of the show?
Let's keep with the space.
We'll go with space. All right, I like space. It's very expansive.
Yeah, I think the storm is it's a little too on the nose right now.
Oh yeah. I want to feel good.
Yeah, and also let's be honest, we can't compete with those cute kittens. It's our two faces trying to keep up with those. Come on.
Oh no, dude. There's no way we can keep up with kittens. KCA Randy from the chat's asking, how am I doing today? I'm doing okay. I think I'm doing okay. I got a decent night's sleep. I have my second cup of coffee. I had a very good chat with Brainbug, YouTuber Brainbug on the channel yesterday. Best advice ever. And so yeah, things are going pretty good. And we have space, the final frontier.
Hey, you know who you should harass into having on best advice ever?
Tell me.
My co-host from Weirdos at Home, Tara Brown.
I think that's an excellent idea.
She has, I'm sure, all kinds of interesting advice that I have tuned out over the course of quarantine.
Oh, I'm sure. It's just like this background sound of the apocalypse, and people have to kind of like break through. They have to break through the miasma.
Interstellar callback. Remember when he's on like the wrong time plane trying to push the books through the bookcase? At the end, everybody had to like explain to their partners all over the country of what the hell was going on. That's like that. It's like that. It's like, is Sam here? Is he not here? He tends to only eat and sleep and play video games. I don't know if he can hear us.
Right. So now that we've gotten the background situation done with, there is another segment we're going to be doing. And if we're going to be doing segments or bits, we're going to be talking about Twitter and stupid dumb or stupid smart. Because stupid funny, I think maybe stupid funny. I don't know. Because I think we should first go with something funny before we go with something dumb. So let's go with funny.
Okay.
So here's a tweet from Mr. Mike Kaplan. I believe he made it yesterday. I like to wrap potatoes in aluminum foil because I don't want the government to know what my potatoes are thinking.
That's hilarious. I read that. We were getting ready to do the show, and I almost spilled yerba mate down my shirt. That's a very funny tweet. That guy knows how to write a joke right there.
There are not a lot of people who do know how to write good jokes on Twitter, but that guy just crushes it all the time.
He's very funny. Everybody should be following him. I can never find your Twitter's Laugh Purgatory, correct?
Laugh Purgatory.
Oh, it's right there. It's right in front of me. I didn't even see it right there.
Yeah, so Mike Kaplan is always there with the funny. He always delivers. And the thing is, 7 months ago, you'd be like, no one's dumb enough to wrap their potatoes in aluminum foil because they don't want what the government is thinking. But in this age of people not wearing masks, I'm going to say there's a significant amount of people wrapping their potatoes in tinfoil because of the orbital mind control satellites from NASA.
Unfortunately, I think it's a pretty safe bet right now.
Yes. I think so too.
I don't. I ditched just personally, and this has nothing to do with protecting the thought or the free thought. I don't even fucking know how to make that joke work about the potatoes and the. All I was just gonna say, we started doing a thing where you don't put foil on them, and it kind of gets the skin kind of crunchy on the outside. You do a little olive oil, salt, and pepper on the outside.
Oh yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Oh, that's the move. That's the move. So I can't say I do the foil thing anymore. But hey, if you got paranoid potatoes, I understand.
Right. As long as they're wearing masks in public, who the hell cares, right?
Exactly. Thank you.
All right. So this is trending. I was on Twitter this morning. This is trending. Toronto is not in America. Now, you may wonder why that would be trending on Twitter. Toronto is not in America. And that's because of our favorite Laura Ingraham, that brain surgeon right here. And her
Can I hear it? I'll go ahead and read it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it, Andy, first, I got to ask. I see a blue check, but is this real before I read it?
This is a real tweet from Laura Ingraham.
From this morning?
From this morning, yes.
Okay. Will Joe Biden do more to protect religious liberty than Donald Trump? Not a prayer. City of Toronto bans Catholic churches from administering Holy Communion.
And then it went on to say many people pointed out that even if Donald Trump was elected president once more, there's no way that he's going to be able to tell the city of Toronto to allow communion to occur, because you see, Toronto is not in the United States of America.
Right. And I'm no PhD, Andy, but it never was in the United States.
Oh, there was an attempt to bring it into the United States during the Revolutionary War. It didn't work out. And,
a long time ago.
A long time ago, yes. And to tell you the truth, good for them that they stayed Canada and not America, and not the United States of America. Yeah. I'm saying hello to the Blazing Wizard Pope, and hello to Jesus Wizard Spatula. Good to see you guys here.
Hell of a turnout in the live chat this morning.
Oh, yeah.
I got to point out, I don't think people realize Toronto is the reigning NBA championship city right now.
Huh.
So,
really,
with no sports coming back, if we can't keep from botching this and rushing back in, it's going to be a while till we get to bring that trophy back to the home country. So, just take a break.
I think that we cannot allow Canada to be doing so well in comparison to us. I think that Canada is just ruining the curve in terms of being able to control COVID. It's only a matter of time before Donald Trump sends maybe hordes of maskless MAGA fans across the border, or to infiltrate the border, since Canada isn't allowing any of us U.S. citizens in there.
Right. Which is so funny to me, because their president used to be a doorman at a nightclub, and then he was an amateur boxer, and then he was a male model, and then he got his shit together and got into public service and public policy. But if you had to look on paper, the billionaire quote unquote businessman, or the guy who worked at the dive bar as the door guy, you would think that the situations would be flipped, right?
Right. Yes. You would think so. You would think, well, this is how I think about Prime Minister Trudeau, is that he is something akin to a superhero. And he's like maybe Batman, except Batman became prime minister and he doesn't have as many anger issues or any anger issues. He's just happy doing his job and doing the right thing.
He's like a well-adjusted Bruce Wayne.
He's like a well-adjusted Bruce Wayne. Sure, there might have been stuff that, happened, but, he's gotten over it. He's done the work, the big work, as Mark Maron might say it. By the way, incredible interview Mark Maron has with Jim Carrey. I don't know if you've seen it or heard about it, but if you have a chance to watch or listen to Mark Maron's WTF episode with Jim Carrey, definitely worth the time.
What an artist, man. I mean, the road, I'll talk Jim Carrey all day as a kid who ran home from the movie theater and wrote him a letter, that whole deal. But listening to him on Maron, the guy he's a fucking artist, more so than any comedian I think we've ever had in this country. A guy who can in one breath sing "God Bless America" out of his butt, which he did this week on Howard Stern, which I've been waiting for him to bring that bit back since I got fucking written up in third grade for doing it. But then on the other hand, talk about what it means to be present in life and what the benefits are. And, it's something Kevin Riome from Second City talked about with us a couple weeks ago. But, man, listening to Jim Carrey sure did brighten my day yesterday, and kind of brighten my spirits, because he's just a guy who's been through so much, living out of his car when he moved to Los Angeles to take an attempt at the big game of Hollywood. It was a fascinating interview, and it was such an optimistic interview.
It really was, because Carrey is a guy who got rejected by several comedy venues, some real big opportunities. And what did he do? He just went home, trained, got ready, and then went back in 2 years later. It happened to him a couple of different times. One at the Comedy Store, when he tried to. Yeah, and he failed miserably, and then he went back, trained up, and then went back in and hit it.
It got passed up for by Lorne Michaels at Saturday Night Live, which he's been open about how bitter he was about that deal. And then they finally get him back to hosting I guess it was the season where Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan and all those guys showed up after the kind of the big cleansing of all like the quote unquote early 90s bad boys of SNL. But he came on and kind of saved the show more or less with his ratings he brought in with hosting. Just, oh, now you need me. Hi, how are you? James Carey. Good to be here. But man, what a shining example of just keep showing up to the gym and eventually you're going to hit your home run, right?
Yeah, definitely. If you do it consistently, and if you keep hustling. And another thing that I really liked about the interview, and this is what stuck with me, is that he looked at his at comedy, at his performing art comedy as this kind of ministry of service, right? He looks at it as just as he helped he had a sick mom. Just as his mom was sick as a kid and he was able to get her to smile and to laugh, he looks at performing comedy as doing that, lessening the misery index, so to speak.
Yeah, I think, what I think some of that you can chalk it up to, Andy, is the fact that unlike so many guys over the years, and women for that matter, Lord knows the last couple of decades of SNL have all been women driven, right? Kristen Wiig and Kate McKinnon and Maya Rudolph, and I mean just killers. Yeah. But then you have Jim Carrey is a guy. He's still around. He's so aware of his own superpowers, Andy. Like I think that's kind of what we're getting at, right? He knows that he's, by God, the fucking funniest of all time to some extent in certain, physical comedy for my money. I got to put James Carrey pretty high up on the board.
Who else is there besides Jerry Lewis? I mean, in the Three Stooges. I mean, that's how far back you have to go, I think, in terms of physical comedy.
Then you get to Chevy falling down the ladder, playing Gerald Ford, and then maybe Farley breaking through stuff. And out of that, we've kind of all lawyered up to the point you can't do a lot of physical comedy. Hell, I did a short film a few years ago here in town, back when you could do those kinds of things. Thank you, Greg and Donnie. We didn't want to chase our dreams anyways. We'll sit at home. It's fine. I'll just keep watching the people at the pool cough on each other. That's fine.
Excellent. That's good. So there are people at the pool.
Hey, Andy, I want to point out that I did that short film. And I was supposed to get slapped by the guy playing my father in the scene, and I walk in there trying to do like a late 70s Nicholson and say, no, go ahead and hit me, like let's make it look real. I don't want to emasculate you, dude, but I can take it. Let's go. And he's like, no, I'm not trying to get sued. So who knows if physical comedy is even a thing anymore, even pre-COVID. So
the thing is, you have like Jackass, the Jackass movies, right? And what
was your take on because we were definitely on opposite sides of Jackass, but just out of curiosity, what was your take on that shit when it came out?
I never really glommed onto it. It never really like struck me as, and I'm going to sound like a wanker here. It never struck me as an art form, right. When I saw Jim Carrey in Living Color, when I saw him doing The Mask,
and this whole thing with the arm and
even
Ace Ventura.
That struck me as funny and artful, and even Kramer on Seinfeld and his kind of physical comedy. I understand that, and it isn't just two dudes with a nail gun taking your scrotum and nailing it to some drywall.
Right. There's quite a bit of shock jock to it, and I think I agree with you where physical comedy, boy, it's better when there's some context to it. But I think the Jackass guys did nothing but help us on this road to Donald Trump's America, where that's a form of entertainment. But I mean, at the same time, though, sometimes you'd see them do stuff where you go, I don't care who you are, that's fucking crazy and that's hilarious. But I don't think there was enough of that stuff to keep me interested.
I could watch it for 5 minutes maybe, And then after that, it's like, all right, something else, something else, something else. And yeah, it never, like I said, it never really I never glommed onto it.
I've kind of always been into the prank style humor, but again, that's not just. I remember one time when Jackass was at its peak. I walk outside, and my two younger brothers, who are now looked at like Jack and Bobby Kennedy in my family. But let me remind you that I walked out one time. Don't worry, this isn't the time that they were all comparing dicks with the neighbor kid. This was they're running into the brick wall of the house outside. And I was like, what are you guys playing? Y'all want to shoot hoops? What are you playing? And they're just running into the brick wall face first. What is this? And I'm like, oh no, it's Jackass. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna be inside, guys.
Yeah, running into the brick wall. I think the brick wall is gonna win. And why? Why? Besides being boys, right? Besides testosterone. I guess testosterone explains a lot of things.
Well, let's be honest, Andy. There wasn't enough traffic to be throwing rocks at the car that day.
Right. They just have to, and the brick wall's there. The brick wall's there, and why not? Why not test it out and see what its resiliency is like?
I mean, hell, I've tried it in a car. The brick wall still wins.
Yes, the Blazing Wizard Pope says in the chat, I fought a battle with a steel drum once. It won too.
I don't think my chat is loading correctly because I don't. How far up?
Well, that's new. I have two screens going. So the chat that we see, just to let everyone know some inside baseball stuff, the chat that Sam and I see runs a little bit slower. I think it just popped up on our chat.
There it is.
What was it? A musical battle? And was there at least some kind of sweet tunes being played out there? The Blazing Wizard Pope.
It was the most non-chill reggae festival ever.
I think there could be some real musicianship there if you were falling downstairs in a Chris Farley. No, just an oil barrel. Oh, an oil barrel. Yeah, I imagine an oil barrel.
Hey, I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know why, because I've run out of things to think about during quarantine. And I was like, who would know something about this is my good friend Andrew Hall. What was the deal where people would get in the barrel at Niagara Falls and just kind of tumble over?
It sounds like it started as one of those 19th century things, maybe. And there were people. Who was I? I was talking to my girlfriend about it, and she was just kidding with me and said that she had done it, which of course she never did. And people have died going over Niagara Falls in barrels, and there's a lot of people who survived.
I'm just wondering, was it an attraction thing, or was it definitely a daredevil thing even early 1900s? It had to be, right?
It was one of those daredevil things. I don't believe there was ever like a kiosk where people were selling barrels to people. Okay. And people would just, I guess, brought their own barrels and said, hey, this is my best life. This is what I'm doing. I'm voting for Trump, though I don't know who Trump is because it's 1901. And this is what I'm doing. I'm ready. Right. I'm just going to duck and cover myself.
For me?
And no, I'm not wearing a mask when I go over. I'm not doing this. And that's what I think we should really be doing, to tell you the truth. To the people who don't want to wear a mask, is we should just pay them to go up to Niagara Falls, to go over the waterfall without a barrel, or just say that it's an imaginary, it's a faith-based barrel perhaps, and just see what happens.
I think you're onto something. I think there's been less reliable ways to make money in this country over the years. We noticed the other day watching Entourage. This isn't as much of a right turn as it sounds like, but we realized it was the two brothers who are the stars of Entourage, Vinny and Johnny Chase. They were betting on which one of their friends could get laid first, and they were betting up to like 10 grand. And we pointed out, during the 2008 financial crisis, not enough people really pointed the finger where it deserved to go, which was the underground world of douchebag gambling.
Totally. Because, those kind of side bets, those kind of wagers, they happen all the time. Well, here it is. Blazing Wizard Pope wants to talk about the
barrel
the
thing.
barrel. Well, if you lived in 1901 and you had emptied your last barrel of rum and your saloon burned down, well, it would take it down the river too. Well, yeah,
We got to remind the Blazing Pope. He makes a good point, and we agree. I'll speak for both of us, but we're not talking about the river, Andy. We're talking about the eighth wonder of the world.
Right, of the natural world. That is correct. But it's a good point. Is that if it's a rum barrel versus a beer barrel, is there more cachet in that? I don't know. I would like a nice beer barrel if I was going to go over the falls.
Yeah. I just as long as Budweiser's going to pay for a nice halftime show before they crack me out of it when they get me down at the bottom. I was going to ask you something. How many shows do you host right now? You host a lot of podcasts right now during our summer.
Yes, I do this show, of course, and then I do Best Advice Ever, which, as I mentioned earlier, I did with YouTuber Brainbug. And then I get into these interesting long form for me is like an hour or so, conversations with academics or activists or just people who I really want. It just boils down to who the fuck I want to talk to at any particular moment. So I had Dale McGowan, who is an academic, a philanthropist, free thinker. He does like a whole ton of things. I talked to him on Monday, and we just talked about his podcast, how music does that. And Dale teaches composition, and he has a PhD in composition. And we really got into the deep structure of music. And if you really want to understand how music makes you feel things, right? How it makes you feel good or sad. There is this kind of deep structure that is, when Dale listens to music, he just doesn't hear it the same way as you and I do. He's able to deconstruct it, put it back together again, and say, oh, this is the reason why this thing does what it does. And we talked about everything from the difference between a harpsichord to a piano and Beethoven. And you know what blew my mind is the fact that composers, when they compose music, they don't hear the music in their heads.
Wait, explain this to me. We were joking around in the house about this. My middle brother's a very talented drummer, and I grew up around music. My stepdad's a great hell of a guitar player, man. And we were going, what the hell? What do you mean you just think of a song? I've never had that bone in my body.
So what happens when composers create music that's complicated? They won't sing it out because you're not supposed to sing or hum as you create music, even simple pieces. That's what they teach you with composition. But when music gets to a certain amount of complexity, a composer will not hear the music in their head. It's kind of like reading something without hearing your voice in your head. The music just goes away, and the only thing you do, I guess, is that you're just in flow. You're in this state of almost like channeling the music. It's like when you're riffing or when we're making jokes or when I'm writing one of my blog posts. In a very simple way it is, because I don't think about the jokes as they come out. I'm just in a state that the jokes kind of come on page or just come on the screen. So people, when they do these huge pieces of music for full orchestras, the composer does not hear the music in their head. And that's just
fascinating.
Yeah, dude, it blew my mind.
That's mind blowing. So it's just to some extent that being present thing we're talking about.
Yeah, I think they get to be so present, and the work is so complex that part of your brain just shuts down. That awareness, that self-awareness of what you're doing just disappears. It's like, I think it's similar to athletes, right? They've done studies that when a Major League Baseball pitcher pitches, the thinking parts of their brain, the forebrain up here, it just shuts down, and it just, like, the system just works, like the muscle memory. I mean, of course, muscle memory is, it's just lower brain second areas like lighting up, but you don't actually think about doing the act while you're doing it when you're a professional. The only time that you're actually thinking about how to pitch a ball is when you're learning. But when, like you're shooting pool, and if you're really good at shooting pool, like I'm okay at shooting pool, I don't really think about the shots that I'm making or how I'm doing it. I just make the shots, and you enter this kind of flow state.
It's like the way when Tara and I will go up to the YMCA like pre-quarantine earlier this year, and we go to shoot some hoops. And to me, I don't even have to think about it, Andy. It's just one of those reflex things. It just comes right off the hand and just right through the net. And I mean, it's almost, you can almost hear it whistle as it flies by with that perfect rotation on the ball. Meanwhile, Tara's over here. She's trying to get her feet straight, making sure her shoes are tied, trying to see where her elbow is, hoping she doesn't look dumb. She does. We don't want to tell her that, but she doesn't play basketball. What are we going to do?
Right. well, you can always have her beat you on your what game are you guys playing at home there? The NBA.
Yeah. So we downloaded an NBA 2K. I've talked about this on the show. I broke and bought a PlayStation at the beginning of quarantine, and we bought the NBA game. I harassed my girlfriend and co-host of Weirdos at Home, Tara Brown, for about a week to play it with me. She refused. We then decided to play last night after Weirdos at Home, and I lost 6 games in a row.
6 games. Now, what do you attribute that to, my friend?
Well, first, I was trying to be polite, and I didn't want to be accused of taking advantage of my partner by just embarrassing her first time out. So I'm trying to go slow at first, and then just one version of Kobe Bryant collapsed as another version of Kobe Bryant collapsed as another one, and it was like standing between 2 mirrors and just watching forever and ever and ever the Lakers lose to the Spurs over and over and over and over. And then finally I was like, Andy, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to have to turn to Bird and Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson, my childhood heroes, because I know they won't let me down, and there's no way she can beat that team. Oh my God, I lost by like 15 fucking points, Andy. I was in tears all night.
I feel for you, Sam.
It's women's world now, Andy. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, well, I'm not that unhappy with that, Sam. It takes a lot of responsibilities off my shoulders.
I'm actually a big fan of that policy, and if we could only get some kind of qualified woman to run for president who really had her shit together.
Do you think, Sam, that there would be some kind of problems with people not treating her seriously? Or do you think there'd be some problems with a qualified female candidate? I mean, in terms of like systemic misogyny within the system?
I don't think there'd be any of that. I don't think there'd be any double standard issues. I think it'd be fine. But here's what we got. I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, the end of the hour, whatever we say here. I got to ask you, I know you were not a few weeks ago. You're one of the least optimistic people, but it was just out of being a realist about the way it's looking in November. How are you feeling a little better about November?
I am feeling better about November, to tell you the truth. If there are elections, which I think there will be, then am I predicting a Biden win at this point? Yeah. Do I think he would have won if it wasn't for coronavirus? I don't think he would have won. I think Trump would have handed him his own ass, but because of coronavirus, because of the situation. And I always go back to Professor Alan Lichtman's keys to winning the White House. Professor Alan Lichtman has a system which predicts accurately who wins the popular vote. I think all the signs are there for Biden winning. If he loses, it will be the biggest implosion of any presidential candidate in our memory. It'll be bigger than Kerry or Dukakis, or it would be of epic proportions.
Almost impossible to wrap your head around.
Yeah. But I do. I feel positive. I'm feeling hopeful, and I don't like using that 4-letter word, because for me, hopeful is a 4-letter word. But you look at the numbers like I said, in Georgia, in Texas. Biden is thinking about picking someone from a battleground state, which is great, because VP picks typically don't mean anything except for the fact that they swing votes in their state by 2% to 3% in their favor.
I believe that's not the Andrew Hall rule, because of how often you have reminded folks over the years of that statistic during the Trump era, because you look back and Tim McCain. Tim McCain. What was his name?
Was it just Kane? Was his last name just Kane?
Yeah, Tim Kaine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine didn't push the needle one direction or the other.
Yeah. You got to have, especially in a race like this where people win by razor thin margins, you got to have someone from a purple state or from a state like Georgia. Well, like we just said, Georgia is a purple state right now.
Georgia, Texas, Arizona are new swing states. If you want to make an impact and throw some dollars, I know not everybody has the means to give to a campaign, but how about this? Nowadays, any one of those downstate ballot races, as far as United States Senate candidates, Andy, I'd bet you at this point they have something set up on their website where you can make phone calls for them.
Oh, wow.
So if you're interested in doing that, look out to just Google some of this. MJ Hagar in Texas here's running for the United States Senate against John Cornyn. We need all the help we can get, and Senate vote in Texas goes a long way to making sure that we have a confirmation vote one way or another to make sure we get what we need in the Supreme Court. With Ruth has to step down.
Oh my God! If there's anything that gives me
I know,
like intermittent anxiety attacks, it's the idea that she passes before a Democrat gets in the presidency. Yeah.
Now in November, I'm not even kidding, Andy. My body just got flushed with sweat just finishing the sentence about. Oh man.
Yeah, true enough. So, Sam, before we close it out, I want to float this idea, and I'm going to float it to whoever's in the chat too. I'm thinking that even though we do a great show on Friday mornings, and I want to keep that, I'm thinking about maybe doing something later at night too.
I'm in.
Like a late night Sam and Andy during the week, where we could get different people, because there are people on the internet now, and then there are people on the internet late at night. And doing a late night show, bringing in some guests, doing these crazy backgrounds and these little bits here. I think that might be a lot of fun.
I think that'd be so much fun, Andy, because obviously there's things we can talk about at 10, 11 a.m. and there's things that we can't talk at 10, 11 a.m. And I think people would absolutely love to see a Andy and Sam After Dark.
Crazy. It would be crazy. And we'd have a whole nother list of people available in terms of comedians and other entertainers.
Wear cool smoking jackets like Hugh Hefner.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. At least his smoking jacket. Right. We'll do like interviews from the grotto and everything. It'd be key. Okay. That's fun.
Okay. Yeah, I'm liking this a lot. Let's figure this out.
Yeah. Yes. And I just want to say this is that people who know my schedule know that I work overnights, but I do not do any overnight shifts on Mondays. So if we were going to do something, the best night for me would be a Monday night. And I think there are maybe some people hanging around the internet on Monday night.
Let's do something late Monday nights. That works for me. Man, I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this. We're at the bottom of that. Hey, this was so much fun. You know that I look forward to this all week long. I hope you know that.
Yes. Sam, the only reason why I'm on YouTube this much is because of Chris Mallard over at the Daily Atheist Morning Show, and you. You guys were the ones who really inspired me to do this YouTube thing more than anyone else.
I think this YouTube thing is going to take off.
I think we will take off on the YouTubes. That's what I think. Well, into space, Sam. Into space.
I wish I had some J.J. Abrams fucking effects right now. But hey, you are at Laugh Purgatory on Instagram and Twitter, along with the Laughing in Disbelief blog. Is that correct?
I'm on Laughing in Disbelief on Pathos. Yes, you just Google that stuff and Andy Hall Atheist and all my shenanigans on the internet.
The amount of content that this man produces, it's uncanny.
Uncanny. It is without can. That's what that is.
That's real.
All right. So, Sam, any last thoughts before we bust out of here?
Stay home this weekend, everybody. Stay home. And if you got to go out, wear a mask. We just have to take it seriously for just what the CDC guys say, 4 to 8 weeks. If we all took it seriously, it could be gone for good.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Mr. I'm going to mispronounce your name, Chirac. Edward. Good one. Thank you. Thanks, everyone in the chat. This has been a lot of fun. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing a lot more crazy stuff. Take care, everyone. Thanks a lot, Sam, for coming on today, of course.
See you guys. Thanks, Andy.
All right. And we hit end broadcast, and